Ayo! Welcome to the first episode of Super Serious Mall Overviews, where we go to some not-so-dead malls and walk around them, while I wax lyrical about the mall's lore and nostalgia factor. Today, we are in one of the largest shopping malls in not only the Philippines but in the world as well. It's a Megamall, the SM Megamall? 10 out of 10 creativity right there. SM Megamall, often shortened to Megamall or even simply Mega, is the third ever mall of Shumart Incorporated, or SM Prime Holdings as they are right now. This mall opened during the boom of shopping malls in Metro Manila back in the late 80s and early 90s, and supposedly it's this mall that somehow made shopping malls a cultural phenomenon among Filipinos, aka malling. At least SM thinks it did. Following the success of SM's first mall in North EDSA, SM founder and CEO Henry C. is straight to following it up with two more malls within the metro. Mall in the Tri-City boundary of Manila, Quezon City, and San Juan in SM Center Point, and one giant mall that would kind of dwarf everything else in the metro, even their very own malls at the time. C would set his sights on a little plot of land along EDSA, which happens to be the same road SM North EDSA is along, and in between Julia Vargas Avenue in Mandaluyong City. I suppose this area is quite strategic, as not only is it in the middle of the busiest road in Metro Manila, or should we say the deepest bit of traffic hell, and it is inside what would become the Ortigas Center, one of the three major financial districts of Metro Manila, alongside Makati and BGC in Taguig. C loaned ₱1 billion as funding for this mall, which would be followed by its groundbreaking in 1989. Construction took 2 years, with SM Centerpoint opening a year before what would become SM Megamall. The mall would open on June 28, 1991 to an instant success which would persist some 32 years later. Unlike the SM malls that preceded it and SM's old big box department stores, literally, this mall had quite the aesthetic shift going to the 90s. Instead of a big grey box of the previous developments, we get a long white box. Haha, very aesthetic, right? But at least the entrances were kinda cool. The mall originally comprised of two 6-story buildings in Mega A and Mega B, which are bound together by a multi-level bridgeway over Julia Vargas Avenue, which would give off the impression of it being one long building, at least from EDSA. SM's own anchor stores spread across the two buildings. A massive 5-story SM department store, now simply called SM Store, anchored Mega B, alongside the first of eventually two SM supermarkets. Meanwhile, Mega A anchored a massive food court in the lower ground floor, a Toy Kingdom aka SM's dollar store Toys R Us, and a 12-screen Cineplex named then the Silver Screen. The mall's original bowling center and ice skating rink would also be in Mega A, right across the food court. There was also a Glycos at the 4th floor of this building, which was like an indoor amusement center. A 3-room convention center, the Mega Trade Hall, would also anchor the 5th level of Mega B. Directly below that, a cyber zone, a tech store area of SM malls, would replace the 5th floor of the SM department store somewhere in the early 2000s. All in all, some 600 stores and restaurants littered both buildings, including the bridgeway. Both of these buildings, plus the bridgeway, totaled to a floor area of just under 332,000 square meters, or over 3.5 million square feet. This made SM Megamall by far the largest mall in the Philippines at the time, holding the record for a good 15 years until SM's own Mall of Asia would open. You might be wondering, what are those little banner things on the floor captions? Those were the old floor names of each of Megamall's 6 floors, complete with color coding and symbols for the aesthetic. The lower and upper ground floors were Festival and Gardens respectively, the second floor was Colonnade, the third floor was Boulevard, the fourth floor Promenade, and the fifth floor was the aptly named Summit. The original interior aesthetic of the mall was based on these 6 floor names. The tiles and lighting fixtures matched each of the floor's symbols. There were neon lights at the little escalator courts which were color matched to their respective floors. Banners of the floor names hung about in the balconies, in theory to remind mallgoers what cute little name the floor has. It was probably as 90s as a mall would get on the inside. Couple that with those tall twin elevator shafts on both buildings. And yes, the directories would show these floor names, mostly eschewing the actual floor they're on, which understandably would cause a bit of confusion as some OG mall goers would lament. And since I've talked a lot, let me just let the music take over for a bit and let the mall speak for itself. Not much in the mall would change as we enter the new millennia, but approaching a decade and a half after opening, it seems inevitable that some sort of refresh is going to happen in the mall. In 2005, SM Megamall would have its first ever renovation. It was mostly more of an exterior refresh, with the interior refresh being limited to some signage and wayfinder replacements. The all-white with a single long window aesthetic was replaced by a cladding in different shades of blue, which would also double as billboard holders. The original triangular skylight was also replaced with a wavy one, which matched fairly well with the wavy awnings at ground level. Unfortunately, this would also mean the beginning of the end for the floor names. The fancy lighting fixtures and neon were pretty much gone. At the same time, the renovation happened. Banners did persist a few years after the renovation, but their demise was imminent. The floor names themselves were relegated to a small caption on the Wayfinder. Sometime in the early 2010s, these floor names were gone completely. I guess SM knew that everyone would just call the floor names as they are and not by their fancy floor names. I mean, I don't know if anyone would be like, "Hey, let's go to the Gap at Promenade." And as mentioned before, mall-goers indeed got a bit confused as to what floor they were in. The roughly 400-meter, quarter-mile long mall looked pretty samey after all from one end to the other, which can throw you off. What more for going hipster and calling the second floor Colonnade instead of what it is? But at the same time, I think it kind of killed off a part of the vibe of Megamall back in the 90s in my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong, you would still recognize this mall with its elevators and 6 stories in a no-context picture. But I'd bet if someone grew up with this mall in the 90s and you took a picture of just the boulevard light fixture, they'd be like, "Oi, that's Megamall." And besides, there's just something cool about having those neon and those lighting fixtures. But what do you think? Would you mind a comeback of these floor names, complete with lighting fixtures and all, or would that make navigating a mall like this even more confusing? Drop a comment below. In 2008, Megamall would have its first expansion, the 16,000 square meter, 170,000 square foot Mega Atrium, which is like a 4-story extension of the Bridgeway. It mostly features restaurants and clothing stores, and it also gave the mall a distinctive center court finally, not just the boxy balconies in the main mall anymore. the mall would have its first major interior refresh. The old 2x2 ceramic tiles were replaced with 4x4 glossy granite tiles. This meant a further blow to the floor names theme as the old so-called floor name symbols on the floor, wow, were replaced for good. The fairly iconic elevator shafts were also repainted from grey to blue. The aesthetic you see in Mega A and Mega B today is the result of this exact renovation. Sadly, a year later would see the original ice skating rink in Mega A close in place of an event center. A pretty iconic part of Megamall with its massive pillar in the middle and proximity to the food court gone forever. But also not quite. More on this later. The Glycos at the 4th and 5th floor is long gone, replaced by a bingo hall and the Mega Clinic respectively. I guess that means the 5th floor is the most expensive part of the mall since it's full of these kinds of clinics. Another year later, a second SM supermarket would open at the upper ground floor of Mega A, at the site of the old Power Books and Toy Kingdom, which relocated to Mega B and the lower ground floor of Mega A respectively. Gone were the days of having to park at Mega A because there were no more slots available at Mega B where the original supermarket is, and then having to haul your tired being a massive cart full of groceries the entire 400 meters to your parking building. I feel so tired saying that. I mean, you could tell in my video how long the walk from Mega A to Mega B could be. Fun fact, this very SM supermarket was the site of the only JCPenney in the Philippines, which opened back in 1996 and closed shortly thereafter. What a crossover that was. More expansions would come this mall's way into the 2010s. Mega C, built in 2011, is located in front of Mega A as a car park building / transportation hub / call center office / government office. Wow, that's a lot. Parking in Megamall, as a lot of you may know, is quite the nightmare, especially in the weekends, so this is a welcome addition. Though it didn't stop this problem and parking remains something pretty painful in this busy mall. But that wasn't the end of Megamall's quest to becoming more mega. On January 28, 2014, the 86,000 square meter, 930,000 square foot Mega Fashion Hall would fully open its doors. It departed from the old Megamall's boxy long straight hallways by having curved hallways joining a massive center court and back into the old Mega B. It anchors international chains, including a 3-story H&M and an equally 3-story Uniqlo, which is basically H&M Japan. A lot of fancy restaurants and buffets line this new wing, alongside high-end stores and chains. There's even a food court here with supposedly fancier options than the original food court in Mega A. It's like the fancy club of Megamall. It would also house the return of the skating rink and bowling center at the 5th and 4th floors respectively. 2 additional cinemas that would add to the existing 12 in Mega A would be here as well. A director's club, which is basically a cinema with fancy lazy boys as seats, and an IMAX theater, the 8th of its kind in the Philippines. With these expansions in mind, the mall's total floor area would balloon to a whopping 474,000 square meters, or 5.1 million square feet for y'all Americans. This makes SM Megamall the 3rd largest shopping mall in the Philippines, only behind SM's own Mall of Asia and the expanded SM North EDSA, which, by the way, both are on the same road. This also makes Megamall the 15th largest shopping mall in the world. Not too bad, eh? Little fun story I could add, but I remember when my high school batch would legit rent out a cinema in this mall as part of our sorta entrepreneur class. I forgot exactly what subject it is, but yeah, it was a screening of Rogue One at Cinema 6. I remember when some of my friends would go to people at the hallway to convince them to buy our tickets so that we have more people. I believe we exceeded our quota of tickets anyway, and we celebrated by raining our spare tickets all over the hallway just like money. Those were some fun times. All that money went to an orphanage, so that's pretty cool. I don't know, just a little story to break the monotony of the background music. Yeah, this is one side of the fourth floor of Mega A that's all a line of art galleries. I believe they've been there since the mall opened, and I don't know, just strolling along them in this narrow hallway and seeing all the beautiful art inside is quite the vibe. I kind of feel like this row of art galleries is as iconic as any part of this mall, and it would be a shame if SM rezones this area. I guess this mall is a lot more Galleria than Robinson's Galleria. On the other side of this balcony are furniture stores, and I think that's quite a nice combo, art galleries and furniture stores. I think this expansion was pretty well made. Despite being just 4 years younger than the renovated main mall, it feels a good 10 years newer. Those curved hallways, man. And the center court with the little circulating hallways. That looks quite nice actually, especially when you have a nice little Christmas display at the upper ground level. You can see the lighting differences even as I go from the fashion hall and back to Mega B. It's also kinda funny how much lower the ceilings are in the main mall, especially at the 5th floor, as you may soon see. I'll leave it to you to bask in the sheer scale of this mall while semi-fitting music plays in the background. My feet were absolutely dying at this point, so expect a lot of shaky camera. This is where a lot of anime conventions take place, here in the Mega Trade Hall. Oftentimes at this part of the 5th floor, you'd see a lot of cosplayers just chilling. I think SM Megamall is one of my favorites of all time. Sure, there are a lot of malls here in Metro Manila alone that look and vibe better than this one, but you know what? Given by how important this mall is in developing Filipino mall culture, yeah, I would say this is one of the legendary ones in the Philippines. It's like visiting an old friend when you enter this mall from one of the 4 parking areas and bask in awe as a seemingly never-ending 6-story hallway with domineering elevator shafts comes into view. Despite the renovations, expansions and all, this is the exact same hallway that millions of shoppers would stroll along from its opening in 1991. It's as comforting of a sight as it is also tiring, and regulars and OGers of this mall would probably feel the same. There's low-key nothing like SM Megamall. Anyway, that's an overly detailed overview of this mall's lore and history. Wow, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Leave a like or dislike and a comment. What part of old Mega Mall do y'all miss? Subscribe to my channel for more history videos of Filipino malls. Take care and see you in the next one.